Last year, the island town of Stonington, about halfway between Rockland and Bar Harbor, had the most valuable lobster catch of any community in Maine, bringing in nearly $48 million.
But like many coastal communities, warming and rising seas are threatening that vital part of the local economy. As News Center Maine's Christian Harsa shows us, though, Stonington officials say they have a plan to adapt to Maine's changing climate.
Travis Fifefield's family has owned land on the southern side of Burnt Cove for more than 200 years. He's the fourth generation to run the family business, Fivefield Lobster Co., and at age 40, he can attest how the waters he and his family rely on have changed.
You know, the cove, when I was a kid, still froze over, and that hasn't happened in a while now.
Warming seas and rising tides aren't something new. He proactively raised his wharf last year, but January storms proved it wasn't enough.
And so, like I said, we had, you know, maybe a bit over a foot of water sort of over our new wharf, which is higher than what the other one was.
Before winter rolls back around, he plans to have this building raised 2 feet. On the coast, he believes building up is the only option. This is Stonington. And this is what flooding in Stonington would look like in the year 2116, based on FEMA's 2016 100-year flood plans. This image has town manager Kathleen Billings worried.
I'm just hoping, you know, we have the time, the money, and the resources to stay ahead of it. If we don't, like I say, it's going to be a really different picture for this island here.
Stonington commissioned additional flood mapping and a sea level rise adaptation report showing what flooding in the town's harbor could look like in 10, 30, and 80 years into the future. Stonington Director of Economic and Community Development Linda Nelson says after January, the data projections are appearing to be right.
And I think that the storms of this winter were kind of the closing argument, if you will, on the fact that things are changing and that we need to respond to those changes.
There are more than a dozen projects planned to help the coastal community brace for the impacts of climate change. There are 3 top priorities, with the first being Oceanville Road. Dale Haley has lived here since 1987 and says January 10th storm was different.
Well, it was unreal, really. We know we've had surges, but nothing like that.
The road has a long history of being overtopped.
That marsh area was constantly flooding. Then when we had the January 10th storm, it was literally tearing the road apart.
Raising 400 feet of Oceanville Road by 4 feet is estimated to cost $1.8 million, all in the hope that the road survives the next storm.
I mean, things could get overwashed and overtopped, but they can't be destroyed every time a storm comes through.
Another improvement project is at the now town-owned Oddfellows building, where the plan is about more than simply reinforcing the building and Main Street.
So we're achieving a lot of different goals all at the same time. We're providing more float space for dinghies, which we desperately need. Yeah. We're providing a stronger, more resilient shoreline, which Main Street needs, and we're providing the public access to this beautiful shorefront.
Getting ahead of the rising tides and building infrastructure hopefully safeguards the town's economy.
We all know there's a limited amount of work in waterfront to support marine opportunities and fishing, and it's crucial for us to keep that.
Over on Fivefield Point Road, where another project is planned, FEMA estimates flooding would look something like this. Improvements will raise the road by 4 feet to get ahead of Stonington's 2030 and 2050 projections. But already, storms and the climate are defying expectations.
We're all recognizing that the climate is moving faster than people expected. But no, I don't think it's enough.
On the same Fivefield Point Road, Fivefield Lobster Co. and the 216-year-old family property could flood to look like this.
You know, it's very easy to say, you know, we just move, you know, just retreat, you know, build it somewhere else. And, you know, for our type of business, there is no building somewhere else.
Meaning for now, Fifefield's only solution is building up. In Stonington, Christian Harsa, News Center, Maine.